are Mark, Robi, Ike, Ross, and Lara. The contents of our presentation includes the organization of study, vision of the change effort, stakeholder analysis, interventions, communication plan, and the summary and conclusion. Let's begin. My name is Mark, and I will start with our company profile. Founded in 1852 and headquartered in San Francisco that has 2 trillion assets. What we have here in the Philippines is called Wells Fargo Enterprise Global Services LLC-Philippines, which is a subsidiary extension office and a PEZA-registered company. It started in November 2011 with around 100 team members. Today, the company has over 5,000 team members and continues to grow. Company goals include customer service and advice, team member engagement, innovation, corporate citizenship, and shareholder value. The company's vision mission states that we want to satisfy our customers' financial needs and help them succeed financially. This unites us around a simple premise. Customers can be better served when they have a relationship with a trusted provider that knows them well, provides reliable guidance, and can serve their full range of financial needs. Our mission is that the reason we wake up in the morning is to help our customers succeed financially and to satisfy their needs. The result is that we make money. It is never the other way around. Up next is the company's core values. First one, what is right for customers? We place customers at the center of everything we do. We want to exceed customer expectations and build relationships that last a lifetime. Second, people as a competitive advantage. Strive to attract, develop, motivate, and retain the best team members and collaborate across businesses and functions to serve customers. Third one, ethics. We're committed to the highest standards of integrity, transparency, and principled performance. We do the right thing in the right way and hold ourselves accountable. Next is diversity and inclusion. We value and promote diversity and inclusion in all aspects of businesses and at all levels. Success comes from inviting and incorporating diverse perspectives. Last is leadership. We are all called to be leaders. We want everyone to lead themselves, lead the team, and lead the business in service to customers, communities, team members, and shareholders. Here are some of the company's product and services: institutional investment, employee benefits, commercial financing, international services, corporate and investment banking, and last is treasury management. Now let us move to the vision of the change effort. Before we go to the change vision, let us look at the current process before the change effort. The company is maximizing the skills and talents across regions in India, Philippines, and in the US. India with its software developers, and Manila, Philippines with seasoned project managers and coordinators were given the freedom to manage time and finish effectively and efficiently their specific projects assigned to each location, which resulted in great performance and collaboration on all projects across the department. Now we discuss the change vision. The change implemented is influenced by the agile way of delivery, which includes a strategy of co-location. To give an overview on what an agile way of working is, in an agile framework, a team can manage a project by breaking it up into several stages and involving constant collaboration with stakeholders and continuous improvement and iteration at every stage. The term co-location represents an organizational technique in which the location of team members is determined in a strategic way to maximize productivity. The specific ways in which this is done is varied, but essentially as follows. When co-location is practiced at the start of a project, the project team members are moved to alternate locations to allow them to better work with one another and at the project in general. This is because typically, this newer organizational placement is done in a way which provides for improved communication among the team members, the ability to form better and closer working relationships, and in many cases can lead to improved productivity. Now the question is, what is the reason behind this change? There are 7 reasons why businesses of varying sizes maintain footprints in co-location facilities. 1 is the compliance and security. If your organization is looking to focus on their core business operations and reduce their capital investment in infrastructure construction, then co-location is the right choice. A secure and compliant environment gives you peace of mind knowing that your technology and company will always be firing on all cylinders. Second is the expertise. Data centers have staff on site consisting of the brightest minds in the technology field. These experts are hired to build and implement and maintain state-of-the-art infrastructure. They have undergone certifications to manage technical equipment and help customers around the clock. Number 3. Cost and space savings. Data centers provide customers with environmentally controlled wide floor space, redundant systems, and around-the-clock monitoring. This saves an organization's valuable money and space. The highest recurring cost of running a data center is labor. In addition to removing the labor costs of hiring contracting electricians, engineers, technicians, compliance experts, and other required employees, data center providers also offer managed security services. This means companies do not have to hire someone to service their IT environment. Number 4. Control. Co-location providers can offer customized and scalable services that give your team control. The need for scalability makes the choice to use co-location data center services very attractive. With co-location, you will always have the option to upsize or downsize depending on your needs. Number 5. Performance. Data center racks and servers perform best in consistently cool temperatures in a dust-free environment. Even the cleanest offices do not have the best real-time air quality monitoring and redundant power and cooling systems. When choosing a data center infrastructure provider, it is important to understand what certifications and security processes they have in place. Number 6. Emergency preparedness. It is important that your disaster recovery and emergency preparedness plan is tailored to your specific business to ensure that your systems and data are protected. To know that your organization can continue to operate in the event of an actual disaster is critical. All elements of your business's IT hinge on the dependability of your technology to deliver vital information right when you need it. Last is a secure network connection. In addition to a secure location and infrastructure, a secure network connection is of prime importance. It is best practice for data center co-location providers to consider all vulnerabilities when it comes to network routing and connection. Up next is our stakeholder analysis, which will be discussed by Robi.
After we had established the rationale for the change and the vision, we will identify the stakeholders that will be affected by the change, as well as analyze their interests, positions, and degrees of influence. Analyzing stakeholders is essential in order to mitigate possible retaliations from the change. For Wells Fargo, the first stakeholder is the management. Their interest is mostly focused on the strategy and as well as the bottom line, which is the maximization of revenue and minimization of costs. They are mostly working with HR, business analysts, and as well as other third-party consultants when it comes to defining and as well as implementing business solutions that will create an opportunity for increased business value. With regards to their conditions of work, they are usually the ones with flexibility when it comes to working time, have the highest salaries in the organization, and as well as having a strong job security. Their position in the change is that of an ally enthusiast. They have the main position to explain the urgency and the need for the change and brings authority to the initiative. The top management of Wells Fargo has a high degree of influence, as seen in their fast implementation, the shift from waterfall strategy to an agile way of delivery and co-location to its Indian center. The organizational change was very fast. In fact, they did not conduct any consultations with the local team. And an evidence to this is the inclusion in the actual retrenchment of the technology head of Manila. The next stakeholder that we will analyze in this change scenario are the employees. Employees comprise mostly of project managers and as well as technology managers. So basically, their interest lies in inclusion in the organization, career advancements, learning and development, and as well as job security. They mostly work with product owners to define project requirements and report progress. They also collaborate with technical teams in the development of the project plan, and in terms of job condition, they work 8 hours a day, 5 times a week, have average salaries, and have moderate to weak job security due to large supply of substitutes in the labor market. They are responsible for managing platform implementation and development projects with medium to high complexity. Moreover, they manage key deliverables in order to meet the enterprise project and leads implementation checkpoint reviews to ensure timely reporting of progress. Their position in the change scenario is that of a passive resistor. Though it was expressed in the interviews that we have conducted with the previous employees of Wells Fargo that they disagreed with the change and believed that co-location do not make sense given other competitors' offshoring strategies, constant upgrades in VPNs, as well as infrastructure change and developments, as well as actual migration to work-from-home scheme, and as well as other digital platforms, non-actively protested with the implemented change. They have low degree of influence, and we say so because in the technology team, none of the employees were actually included in the consultation of the change that happened, and none anticipated that the management will only retain 50 technology managers in Manila headquarters out of the more than 700 employees in that technology team. The third stakeholder that we will analyze is that of the change agents, comprised of HR, business analysts, and as well as third-party consultants. So basically, their interest lies the same with the employees, but with inclusion of flexibility and as well as innovation. So they work with the management in formulating strategies and communicating with employees the plan change. They're responsible for developing change interventions and implementing this change management strategies. They're the ones conducting employee forums and communicate new PMS processes and compliance factors arising from the change program. They also do inventory of roles and talent management plan. Their position in the change scenario is that of an ally enthusiast because, as mentioned, they are actually working hand in hand with the management when it comes to the implementation of the change plan. Their degree of influence is moderate because they somehow took part in the formulation of the change strategy, specifically in assessing the position of Wells Fargo in the banking industry, identifying human capital redundancies, and managing talents. For the fourth stakeholder, that is the clients. So they are concerned in the quality and as well as the timeliness of delivery of service. They avail of the organization's services through relationship and project managers. Basically, they are the ones defining the requirements of the project and set parameters such as the budget and as well as the deadlines. Their position in the change is that of a bystander. They are neutral parties that have the freedom to choose another bank to avail service from. They have low influence since most of Wells Fargo's clients are mostly US-based and not really affected or affecting the co-location strategy to Indian Center, since unfinished projects could also be transferred from the Manila headquarters to the Indian Center. For the competitors, their interests lie on the maximization of the market share. They compete in the banking industry in providing financial products and services, and they are usually bystanders and have low degree of influence, since even if they have or they are affecting the strategy formulation of Wells Fargo, they do not have the decision-making powers in Wells Fargo. And that's it for our stakeholder analysis. Let me turn you over to Ross for the intervention strategy.
To help execute its global workplace strategy of co-location and collaboration, which is a move to support its agile roadmaps, several intervention techniques were employed by Wells Fargo. So for one, they did restructuring, which was done last February 12, 2020. They also offered early separation as an option, and as well as job search assistance. So while the company took these steps in the hopes to mitigate the impact of the change, the group believes that there are still a few intervention techniques that they could have performed before rolling out the proposed changes. With that, the group recommends to apply 4 intervention techniques, namely structural intervention, organizational development intervention, leadership intervention, and human resource intervention. The first intervention technique that we will recommend is survey feedback, which is under human process intervention. So survey feedback is actually a formal system which a survey is gathered from stakeholders of the organization through a structured questionnaire. And this is very helpful. It can actually assist the organization in diagnosing its problems and develop action plans for problem solving. It can also assist the group members and stakeholders to improve the relationship through discussion of common problems. Survey feedback is a powerful intervention tool and, in fact, can provide several benefits to the stakeholders. For the management, it can provide this honest and genuine insight to help leaders guide and direct their teams. It can help surface obstacles and gaps between the current status quo and the desired situations that may or may not be directly apparent. For employees, on the other hand, survey feedback is also beneficial because it presents a safe avenue for them where they can express their thoughts freely, air their suggestions, and post any questions if they have any. The customers can also benefit from the improved products and services that are results of the adjusted processes from the insights gathered from the results. The following are steps recommended in implementing survey feedback, but just to give you a gist and just to summarize it, the first important step is to actually identify the project plan and objectives, to communicate it to the team leaders and employees about the processes. The second important item is to make sure that you train the leaders on facilitating team discussion. And of course, you have to share the results to the employees and present an action plan. Continuous follow-ups and updates are also needed to ensure process and accountability. Now, just like any other strategies, right, there are several challenges when applying a feedback survey. So for one, the feedback methodology is highly dependent on the participation of its employees. The results will depend on how honest, objective, and cooperative the respondents are. Selection of the best collection method is also imperative in making sure that the process will generate the desired results based on the predetermined objectives. Now, if the selection process is not done correctly, it can actually result in subjectivity or skewness of the data being collected. Finally, another challenge is that this methodology is also dependent on the effectiveness of the moderator. That's why, if you remember, one of the core steps is actually to make sure the leaders are well trained. So it's dependent on the effectiveness of the moderators or the leaders that are tasked to perform the survey and communicate the result. Now, once the data has been collected and observations have been clarified, it becomes the leader's responsibility to familiarize the team with the findings. If the feedback meeting is poorly handled, there will be low front-end commitment on the part of the team as well. Now, there are several steps we can take to mitigate these challenges, right? So the first is the plan must be communicated well, again, and the way information is cascaded has to be tailored based on the company's culture, right? That way, each recipient can appreciate it and can support the vision. Leaders tasked on cascading the information must be well trained in handling these types of communication initiatives, and they must have full understanding of the survey data and begin to structure a plan for the first meeting. Action plans are the means derived from the feedback insight must be laid out accurately with an explicit snapshot of the organization, of where the organization is and where it is heading, and the plans for positive change. Now, the second recommended intervention technique is organizational development intervention, or OD. OD is a set of planned change techniques or interventions designed to improve organizational effectiveness and employee well-being. There are several possible OD interventions, right? So you have direct intervention, structure and system intervention, and people and leadership. So in the case of Wells Fargo, our group is going to be applying skills building workshop, capacity enhancement, and technical workshop, which is under people and leadership intervention. We thought that this could be very beneficial in instituting the proposed changes. Prior to the change, the project management office was actually being equipped with training in order to be more knowledgeable and agile. However, only 20% of projects were being delivered in agile, and majority were still being delivered according to the waterfall methodology. Considering the bank is moving towards agile, project managers could have been refit, retrained, repurposed to be either a product owner or a scrum master. Our suggestion is to train the employees on the Agile framework and gradually assign the project managers to projects which are mostly Agile. Now, there are several benefits this strategy can present to each of our stakeholder. From a cost perspective, it could have been benefited the bank should they decide to keep some of its technology employees in Manila for business continuity purposes. It's obviously less costly to train and upskill people than to relocate an entire operation, hire new people, and more so, it's even more difficult doing this in a different country. It would have also benefited our stakeholder, which is our employee, particularly those who are affected by the change. The opportunity for employees to continue to grow and develop through training is one of the most important factors in employee motivation and retention. The company supporting learning is an important factor in keeping the employee interested, attending, and engaged. More so, just like any other type of strategies, right? There are several limitations, challenges, and barriers in implementing this initiative. Administratively, there are common challenges such as there's increased cost and sometimes even challenges with in terms of geographic limitations. So the company structure and priorities can also serve as a barrier if training and development is not part of its objective. This cost aspect is particularly one of the reasons why scalability is also one of its limitations. So as we all know, training and workshop, particularly those under technical and the project management area, are quite costly, right? So the certifications alone can cost you $100 to $900 depending on the level of specialization. And before you can actually get certified, you need to go through hours and hours in training, attend each review session, and all of these has associated costs depending on how many hours we wanna do for training and where you wanna which institute you choose to conduct training. So because of this, the company can often just provide this type of benefit to a selected few, right? So not almost everyone can actually get this type of benefit. Another limitation is the discovering the stickiness or sustainability of a training program is actually challenging, right? More so with selecting the right employees that shall receive this type of benefit. Now, to help address the cost and scalability challenges, the group recommends employing individual assessment tools such as the 9-box grid that evaluates an employee's current potential and level of contribution to the organization. This can help the company identify seasoned professionals capable of expanded roles. And to help address the stickiness or sustainability of a training program, they need to make sure to pick experienced and seasoned learning and development professionals. So the L&D professionals must find and implement effective way to ensure skills are learned and applied in the real work environment. Training learners effectively is very important. It is important to ask the right questions and identify the desired outcomes when planning each training session. So my groupmate Ike will be discussing the next intervention, which is leadership intervention.
Thank you, Ross. I will now tackle the part on leadership interventions. Our group coined 2 necessary interventions by the leadership of the company: presence and placement support, because a retrenchment plan is not easy both for the company and the affected employees. It seems that since Charlie Sharp came as CEO, plans to streamline the IT functions of the company were already in the discussion board. Therefore, intervention from leadership about the transfer of IT operations to India came mainly from the international senior level. The decision came as a surprise even to the leaders of the Manila Wells Fargo IT department. Part of the preparation were ironing out the schedule of the gradual retrenchment of the affected employees and preparing their separation packages. When they already needed to announce the sad news, the company made sure that the executives were present to show that the decision came from the top. Presence of top managers can also show that the leaders will be there to support the affected employees. So what are the benefits to stakeholders? For the management, As mentioned, the presence of top executives will send a clear message that the proposed change came from the top and it is part of a global strategic plan. For the retrenched employees, well, a layoff is never a benefit, but the impact of this sad news can be reduced by supporting the affected employees in their outplacement. For the clients, the top management's focus on operational excellence, as espoused by the new CEO, ultimately has the goal of improving the company's service to its clients. The major barriers for this intervention can be opposition by local leaders because they were not consulted about the proposed organizational change. The employees of the other departments that were not affected will also lose morale. A massive layoff is a threat to their own jobs. The main limitation can be the bad news has to be delivered by the right people at the right time, at the right place, and with ample preparation. So, what can be done to address the barriers and limitations mentioned? Communication is key to manage negative effects of layoffs. Truthfulness is very important to maintain trust with both the affected and unaffected employees. Communication is also key to managing expectations of other stakeholders of the company. The CEO has to lay out his plans clearly to the public. And a necessary requirement of every organizational change is the sense of urgency. The plan has to be announced as soon as possible, and we have seen that the retrenchment in Manila happened only 4 months after Sharf became CEO. Yeah, now for the HR intervention, we placed 2 necessary items: performance evaluation and outplacement counseling. The intervention of the HR is very necessary to reduce the loss of morale not only by affected employees, but also those who are working in the unaffected departments. An article by Harvard Business Review 2016 implicated the sales incentive reward system of Wells Fargo as the cause of the social scandal it made to its clients by the creation of millions of fraudulent accounts on behalf of clients without their consent. This prompted the company to make an overhaul of its business processes, including the change of its performance management system. The incentives became team-based rather than individually directed. Our group discussed that perhaps to maintain the engagement of the to-be retrenched employees so that they will finish their projects well, the company can opt to give additional separation pay incentives based on the quality of their final performance and aligned to their team-based PMS. As attested by the affected employees in our interviews with them after the bad news, the people lost appetite to work. To maintain the engagement, performance-based incentives must continue until their final projects are done. The HR has a big role in making this happen. HR also has to conduct outplacement counseling to assist the affected employees. This is aligned to the leadership intervention of providing outplacement support for the affected employees. What are the benefits of these moves? For the management, they should increase the quality of the projects being handled by the retrenched employees to maintain trust of clients in the company. For the employees, these moves, especially the outplacement counseling plan, will help the affected employees not to leave the company with grudges, while they have the reputation to be one of the best places to work. For the clients, we mentioned about the scandal in 2016. Continuing the teams-based PMS is an assurance that this will not happen again. So what are the barriers to change? Uncooperative affected employees who will not do their work in spite of the performance separation incentives. In handling the layoffs, the barrier would be an unprepared HR department. The limitations, as with any team-based work, some team members may just be having a free ride while the others work hard for the incentive. Another limitation is if this team-based PMS is not yet standardized, it will be hard to measure the performance of the team. How do we address the barriers and limitations? HR has to be prepared and trained to handle the retrenchment procedures. And then again, communication is very important in the implementation of the team-based performance management system. As we have learned in our class, the employees have to be briefed before the evaluation, followed through during the evaluation period until the end of their project.
Thank you, Ross and Ike. Now let's see how communications play a vital role to change management. Continual change is inevitable within organizations. Therefore, communication is one of the most complex and key areas every management has to focus and improve on when it comes to change. These two, change management and how it is being relayed or communicated whether to the organization as a whole or solely to the impacted part of the community, are inextricably two linked processes. Hence, communication is at the core of an effective implementation of any successful reform. Let's look closely if Wells Fargo did well in communicating the change to its employees. The left column summarizes or gives us a picture how the change was conveyed to the employees based here in Manila, specifically the members of the information technology arm of the company. While the column on the right are considered reasons why we say these are good communication practices and why it gave a positive impact to the organization and its employees as they undergo the said change. Face-to-face meeting via town hall allowed a clearer and more concise message to be delivered from the leaders of the company. And how our interviewer described it, the town hall was able to meet the 7 R's of change management according to PMP practice. Another commendable move was that the negative impact of the change was not concealed. The reason, risk, and resources involved were clearly defined during the announcement. The Q&A portion also gave a significant amount of time and venue for questions and clarifications to be expressed by the employees and to be properly addressed by the management themselves. Intentionality refers to how well the leaders clarify direction and keep action aligned and on track. The presence of the executives who flew from India to Manila is one of the facets contributing to the intentionality to be attained. Multiple channels were utilized, including speaking via town hall, writing via email, and focus group discussions via conversations to ensure resources are fully informed. Sense of involvement is commendable as well, as it was evidently considered through regular conversations with managers and HR business partners. Given that Wells Fargo had an existing clause to allow the organization to immediately terminate the employees due to redundancies, the company still considered and abided by the Labor Code of the Philippines. Timeliness was realized by providing most of the employees with 30 to 60-day lead time to prepare and jumpstart the search for job replacements. So given this communication practices that Wells Fargo has done, how are we still going to improve and make it more seamless and considerate? So the group came up with this matrix to summarize small tweaks or activities which could be injected to Wells Fargo's communication plan. We have also defined who should be receiving these kind of information, how it should be delivered, its frequency, and who will be responsible on disseminating the information. First, since the invite to the town hall did not include any high-level information on what was the assembly for, some employees came in late or worse, missed the town hall. So to impose urgency and importance to the employees, it is important to at least give them an idea that a huge announcement will be made, or inclusion of a brief objective will be helpful to emphasize on the necessity on attendance. Second, though Wells has utilized other forms of communication, it will also be beneficial to the entire organization, especially those who are not invited to the town hall, if use of bulletin or portal posts linking to the announcement will be maximized. Surely there will be follow-up feedback and queries from employees regarding the change, so FAQs or frequently asked question guidelines released by the HR department will be helpful to equip people managers with consistent talking points, and this will serve as guide during conversations with their direct reports. Job search support will also be a nice addition to Wells Fargo's outplacement program. This will support and manage the transition of outgoing employees from one job to another. Lastly, frequency of conversations with HR business partners and managers can be increased to a bi-weekly pattern to ensure progress on project closures, transitions are properly done, and to show continuous support to the impacted employees. For the conclusion of the case, while the company or Wells Fargo took several steps to mitigate the impact of the change, the group believes that there are still some interventions that could have been performed before rolling out the change while ensuring that the involvement of the stakeholders are intact.
It is recommended for Wells Fargo to apply 4 intervention points or techniques, most especially on areas of structural, organizational development, leadership, and human resource. Lastly, every event that the company needs to implement a change, whether on its org structure, its people, its strategies, or even in the minor area of the business, the entire company has to adjust. Therefore, it is the management's responsibility to work hand in hand with human resource department to ensure that the managing of the change will be successful. That's the end of our group presentation, and thank you for listening.